Hey, it's Coach Reeves again. Today, we're going to solve equations with rational exponents, okay? But before we get into this, I'm going to ask you if you remember a concept that you were taught a while back. If I ask you to take x squared, and we're going to raise that. We're going to raise that to the third power. When this happened, we ask you, when you raise the exponents, we ask you to multiply. In this case, you would say 2 times 3 equals x to the 6th. Some of you may say, Coach, I've never heard of that. I can't remember that. It's okay. But you should understand is that 3 exponent tells you you need 3 of what is inside the parentheses. And so that would tell you to go x to the second times x to the second times x to the second. And we remember that when we multiply, we add the exponents. So that would be 2, 4, 6. That would give you x to the 6th. But I really need you to understand the concept that when you raise the power, we're going to multiply. Because that's what we're going to use every single time. Okay, let's get into it. The first thing I would like for you to do is I want to ask you to isolate or get the exponent portion by itself. I need you to try to move things away in the equation, but I need you to isolate that portion. So on this problem, I'm going to ask you to come in. I'm going to ask you to move the 8. I'm going to ask you to say minus 8, minus 8. This will cancel. That will be 3 equals n to the 1/4. That's good. Now you have isolated the exponent portion. Now what we're going to do is we need to make that exponent go away. To make that exponent go away, we're going to raise the power to the reciprocal. So we're going to ask you to come in and raise the power. In this case, the reciprocal would be 4 or 4 over 1. Now, we're going to multiply, and 1/4 times 4 over 1 is going to equal 4 over 4, which is the number 1, which is the same thing as canceling out. So the 4's are canceled, the 1's are canceled, but that's just going to leave me with the letter n. But the rule is, remember what the rule is. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other side of the equation. So if we're going to raise the power to 4, we have to raise the power to 4 on this side. And 3 to the 4th. Now you can use your calculator if you need to, but that's 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. My final answer here is an 81. This is a pretty simple problem. But here's one thing I'm going to ask you to notice. I want you to pick this up. If your starting exponent, if that numerator, the numerator of your exponent is an odd number, then you're good. You don't have anything to worry about. But if this numerator, the top number of your exponent, is an even number, that's a special case. In our next 2 examples, this numerator, that top number, is going to be an even number. And we're going to have to do things a little bit different. Okay, let's go to the next problem. All right, so my numerator, this top number is even. And when that happens in our problem, you're going to have to come up with a positive negative portion in your problem. So you remember if we had, we solved for a square root, and you took the square root of both sides, and you would say, yes, Coach, I have a positive, negative, something, something. Okay? That's what happens. We're taking an even root, and when we take an even root, you're going to end up with a positive, negative number. Okay? But let's get into the problem so you understand what I'm talking about. Once again, I'm going to ask you if you could just isolate the exponent portion. Take that portion and try to get it by itself. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move the 6. I'm going to say plus 6 plus 6. That's going to cancel. We're going to be left with 4 times k minus 22 to the 4/3 power equals 58 plus 6 is 64. Okay? But my exponent portion is still not by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you if you will divide by 4. Divide by 4. This will cancel. That leaves me with k minus 22 raised to the 4/3 equals 64 divided by 4 is 16. Now my exponent portion is by itself. This is where we have to raise the power to the reciprocal. On this problem, if I raise the power to the reciprocal of 4 over 3 is 3 over 4. But if I do it to the left side, I have to do it to the right side. We have to raise the power to 3 over 4. Just like in the first problem, the 3's are going to cancel, the 4's are going to cancel. I will be left with k minus 22. I have no idea what 16 raised to the 3/4 is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my calculator and put this in my calculator. Okay? So I have 16 raised to the 3/4. So we're going to say 16, and we're going to raise it. We're going to raise the power with this little rooftop or a carrot top. Okay? Let's go backwards. Okay, so we're going to raise this to 3 divided by 4. And we're going to hit enter. 16 to the 3/4 is an 8. Okay? Let's go back to our paper. So we know that this is going to be an 8. But the thing is, remember what I told you. If we're taking an even root, we're going to use a plus minus. This tells us that we're taking an even root, so my answer needs to be a plus minus or a positive negative. This is the tricky part. And remember, it's going to be an 8. We said it was going to be an 8. That's the part you have to remember. All right, so now I have to work this 2 ways. I have to work my problem as a positive 8. I have to work it as a negative 8. So please come over here and say k minus 22 equals a positive 8. K minus 22 equals a negative 8. Plus 22 plus 22, k equals 30. Plus 22 plus 22, k equals a positive 14. Those are my 2 answers. Please remember, look and see what that starting numerator is. If it's odd, you don't worry. But if that starting numerator is even, we're going to have to use plus minus. Let's try one more problem. Look at this. That starting numerator, that's an even number. That means we're going to have to use plus minus. Okay? All right, remember now, we want to try to get our exponent portion by itself. I don't have anything in the front, so we're already by itself. So now I am ready to raise the power to the reciprocal. We're going to raise the power to the reciprocal. The reciprocal of negative 2 over 3 is negative 3 over 2. That's the reciprocal. And whatever we do to the left side, I'm going to have to do to the right side. So we're going to raise the power to the negative 3 over 2. Just like always, the negative 3's are going to cancel, the 2's are going to cancel. My negative 2 minus 6x drops out. Equals. Now remember, we're talking about this. This guy's going to make me have a positive negative. But I don't know what it is. I have no idea what 1/16 raised to the negative 3 over 2 is. I'm going to use my calculator. So we're going to go to the calculator. And I'm going to say 1, I'm just going to say parentheses, 1 divided by 16, close it. We're going to raise the power to the negative 3 over 2. Negative 3 divided by 2. Enter. 1/16 raised to the negative 3 over 2 equals 64. But remember, plus minus. So this is going to give me a positive negative 64. Now I need you to work it as a positive 64. I need you to work it as a negative 64. So we're going to say negative 2 minus 6x equals a positive 64. Negative 2 minus 6x equals a negative 64. Work it as a positive 64, work it as a negative 64. Plus 2, plus 2. Negative 6x equals 66. Divide by negative 6. X equals negative 11. Over here, I'm going to go plus 2, plus 2. Negative 6x equals a negative 62. Divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6. X equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And when we reduce, 2 goes in here 31 times. 2 goes in here 3 times. Those are my two answers, negative 11 and 31 over 3. All right, so what do we need to remember to do? Well, step 1, check and see. Let me erase this real quick. Check and see right here. If that numerator for the exponent at the start is an even, make sure you remember that it's a positive negative. Okay? And then you notice that we're going to always raise the power to make the exponent disappear. We're going to raise the power to the reciprocal. Okay? Try a few of these problems. See if you understand. Okay? If you need help, just email us or just join in a Zoom. Hey, good luck.